Well, good evening, everyone, and welcome to the Ferndale City Council meeting for Monday, January the 13th, 2014. I would like you to rise and join us in the Pledge of Allegiance, and leading the Pledge of Allegiance this evening is a special group of folks, representatives of the Boys and Girls Club of Ferndale.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thanks, you guys. Great job. Great. I think they want pictures. Are the parents in the audience? Is that it? Yeah. Nice job. Very nice job. And as we begin each term, we have an invocation from one of our local area ministers. And this evening, Reverend Robert Schoenhaus from the First United Methodist Church of Ferndale will lead us in our invocation. Reverend?
Shall we be in prayer together? God of all creation, God of all time and history, we gather here at the dawn of a new year with a sense of purpose. And in the midst of that purpose, may we not forget that policies and plans and projects ultimately are all about people and also about where they live and how they live, and sometimes even if they live. So grant guidance, and may the decisions that are made be made with concern for people and for care and love of our planet as we work together for all that is good and in the name and spirit of all that is holy. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, Reverend. Our next order of business is the inauguration of the 44th Ferndale City Council, and to I'm sorry? Oh. Wow. And to administer the oath of office to the mayor and two council members that are being sworn in tonight is the Honorable Charles Geddert, Judge of the 43rd District Court of Hazel Park Division and former mayor of the city of Ferndale. And I think I'm up first.
Please raise your right hand. Do you solemnly swear or affirm that you will support the Constitution of the United States of America and the Constitution of this state, and that you will faithfully perform the duties of the office of mayor in and for the city of Ferndale, county of Oakland, and state of Michigan, according to the best of your ability? I do. Congratulations.
Councilman Pollock.
Do you solemnly swear or affirm that you will support the Constitution of the United States of America and the Constitution of this state, and that you will faithfully perform the duties of the office of council member in and for the city of Ferndale, county of Oakland, and state of Michigan, according to the best of your ability? I do.
And Councilwoman Piana.
Do you solemnly swear or affirm that you will support the Constitution of the United States of America and the Constitution of this state, and that you will faithfully perform the duties of the office of council member in and for the city of Ferndale, county of Oakland, and state of Michigan, according to the best of your ability?
Absolutely, I do.
And now, Sherlyn, would you do the roll call of the 44th Ferndale City Council, please?
It would be my honor, Your Honor. Council members Lennon.
Yes.
Martin.
Here.
Polika.
Yes.
Piana. Yes. And Mayor Coulter.
Here, yes, thank you. We have a quorum. Next item of business is more inaugurations, and that is the inauguration of the 5th Ferndale Library Board. And I know that all, if not most, if not all, are here. So Frank Castanova, I think I saw you in the audience, right? Why don't you come on up, and we'll do you first, sir.
Raise your right hand. Do you solemnly swear or affirm that you will support the Constitution of the United States of America and the Constitution of this state, and that you will faithfully perform the duties of the office of trustee of the Ferndale Library Board in and for the city of Ferndale, county of Oakland, and state of Michigan, according to the best of your ability? I do.
Hey, is Adrian here? Yeah, there's Adrian. I'm sorry. I don't know how I missed you. Come on up, Adrian.
Do you solemnly swear or affirm that you will support the Constitution of the United States of America and the Constitution of this state, and that you will faithfully perform the duties of the office of trustee of the Ferndale Library Board in and for the city of Ferndale, county of Oakland, and state of Michigan, according to the best of your ability? Congratulations.
Judine Bartos.
Raise your right hand. Do you solemnly swear or affirm that you will support the Constitution of the United States of America and the Constitution of this state, and that you will faithfully perform the duties of the office of trustee of the Ferndale Library Board in and for the city of Ferndale, county of Oakland, and state of Michigan, according to the best of your ability? Congratulations.
I don't believe I see Monique Herzig, but am I wrong? All right. We'll make sure she gets sworn in before she starts. Yes, Your Honor, we appreciate your participation here today, as always. Thank you very, very much. All right. Thanks, Tuck. All right, our next order of business would be the approval of the agenda. What is council's pleasure on the agenda this evening?
I move to adopt the agenda as presented.
Support.
Moved by Lennon, supported by Piana. Is there any discussion on the agenda? If not, Sherlyn, will you call the roll, please?
Council members Lennon.
Yes.
Martin.
Yes.
Polika.
Yes.
Piana. Yes. Mayor Coulter.
Yes, thank you. The agenda is adopted. Next item of business would be presentations. We have one presentation this evening, and that is, by the way, you do have it, right? Okay, let me, so I can read it. And this is commemorating the 50th anniversary of SCORE Michigan. And if you indulge me, I would like to read this proclamation for you this evening. SCORE is a nonprofit association of volunteer business professionals established in 1964 that is dedicated to educating entrepreneurs and providing mentoring services and guidance to help small businesses start, grow, and succeed in Michigan and nationwide. The association is celebrating its 50th anniversary in 2014. And SCORE Michigan has 9 chapters and over 270 volunteer business professionals who annually donate over 30,000 hours of their time and talent to help aspiring entrepreneurs and existing small businesses succeed by providing nearly 5,000 mentoring sessions free of charge and offering small business educational workshops to over 4,600 attendees, many of them in Ferndale, I might add. In 2012, PricewaterhouseCoopers research study, SCORE clients reported starting 735 new businesses, creating 1,215 new jobs, and generating over $75 million in total revenue growth at no cost to the state of Michigan. 53% of SCORE's clients served were women, 32% minorities, and 13% veterans. And SCORE contributes to government revenue nationally through client returns to the federal treasury of $59 for every $1 appropriated to SCORE as of 2012, and helped create upwards of 82,000 jobs. Now, therefore, be it resolved that we, the members of the City Council of the City of Ferndale, do commemorate the 50th anniversary of SCORE Michigan. We recognize their support of Michigan's small businesses and Ferndale's small businesses and entrepreneurs, and celebrate the pivotal role that a business mentoring and assistance organization can have on small businesses and entrepreneurs within the state and nationally. Be it further resolved that we do hereby promote the dedicated and localized stimulation of small business throughout the state as exemplified through the SCORE's continued success. And I would ask Lauren Greenwood, who is the Small Business Mentor Chapter Chairman for this area, to come up and receive this award. And I might add that SCORE has done a number of things in assisting small businesses in Ferndale. I want to recognize Jennifer from our chamber who brought this to our attention, that it was your 50th anniversary, which is wonderful. You must be doing something right. So congratulations.
Thank you, Mayor. We really appreciate it. We love working in Ferndale. This will be, as far as I know, the first City Council to recognize the 50th anniversary of SCORE. And it's appropriate, the first president of SCORE nationally was Walter Channing, who was from the Detroit area, was the first president of the SCORE chapter here. So we're enjoying this 50th anniversary. We hope to have many more. I want to thank you and the City Council for this proclamation.
Thank you. Thanks, Thank you. All right. Our next item of business is call to audience. Call to audience is 30 minutes now and more time if needed at the end of the meeting for members of the audience to speak on any item that they would like that's not on the agenda, because you'll get an opportunity to speak on those at that point in the agenda. So come on up, give your name and your address if you're comfortable giving it, or sign your name and address in the back, and speak on anything you'd like for up to 3 minutes. This is your opportunity. Well, good evening.
Good evening, Jeannie Davis, President of the Ferndale Seniors. And first off, I would like to congratulate Greg and Melanie and Dave for, winning the election. And I just see such strength in this board here. Everything you set out to do, you're certainly going to accomplish. Such electricity, such enthusiasm. This is wonderful. Congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you very much.
And also, we seniors, on February 12th, this goes hand in glove with what happened tonight. We are having Gary Taylor from the Historic Museum come and speak at the senior group Wednesday, February 12th at 11 a.m. It's free. He will be speaking on past political campaigns in Ferndale, some of the dirty tricks in the nasty campaigns.
Wow. I might show up for that one.
Well, you haven't been around long enough, so you know you won't be in it.
That's right.
So everybody come. Admission's free. You don't have to be a senior. Thank you.
Hey, thank you, Jeannie. Is there anyone else who would like to address council this evening? It's not normally such a shy crowd, but all right. Seeing none, we'll move on. The next item of business would be the consent agenda. The consent agenda items are items that council considers routine, and we enact in one motion unless someone from council wants to remove something from the consent agenda. But let me read it first. Item A is the approval of the minutes of the regular meeting held December 16, 2013. Item B is the approval of the specialized service contract with SMART for fiscal year 2014. As submitted by our recreation supervisor. Item C is the approval to purchase a Mimaki CJV 3130 printer cutter at a cost of $14,933 from Advanced Sign Supply to be charged to the Auto Parking Capital Fund, Major Streets Capital Account, and Local Streets Capital Account, and that was as submitted by the Director of Public Works. D is approval of the repair cost of $3,670 to the main boom of the Sterling Prentice loader, vehicle 1250, to be charged to the motor pool repair and maintenance account, also submitted by the Director of Public Works. Item E is the approval of the invoices from Associated Environmental Services for $37,373.25 for the purpose of environmental monitoring and abatement for the court and police renovation project to be charged to the Public Improvement Fund account as submitted by the City Manager. Item F is the approval of the poverty exemption guidelines and resident letter resolution as submitted by our finance director. And finally, item G, approval of the bills and payroll as certified by the city manager to be paid subject to the review of the council finance committee. What is council's pleasure on the consent agenda this evening?
I move to accept the consent agenda as presented.
Support.
Second.
Moved by Piana, supported by Martin. Any discussion on the consent agenda? If not, Sherlyn, would you call the roll, please?
Council members Martin?
Yes.
Polika?
Yes.
Piana?
Yes.
Lennon?
Yes.
And Mayor Coulter.
Yes, thank you. The consent agenda is adopted. Moving on to the regular agenda. Item A is approval of appointments and reappointments to city boards and commissions. And I understand, Sherlyn, that this is one that you've made a nice presentation about.
Yes,
Okay.
I have.
As she's getting ready, I would just say, we have a number of opportunities and ways to serve in this community, especially through our boards and commissions and lots of other ways, but for us, especially through the boards and commissions. And Sherlyn is going to highlight some tonight that have vacancies to see if see what the residents' interest would be in serving on some of those, and we'll talk a little bit more about what some of these groups do and maybe garner some interest from our residents in serving on them. And maybe not.
Marnie?
Having a little bit of
Some
technical.
housework help.
A little bit of technical difficulty. Oh, what is that? Don't say it out loud, though.
Yes, Your Honor and Council. Councilmember Polika approached me last week and just asked me if I would make a brief presentation. I don't want to take up a lot of time, but we are really going to be dedicated, the mayor and Dan and Greg have all expressed a lot of interest in rejuvenating and revitalizing and really staying on top of our boards and commissions this year, giving them the support that they need. So one of the things I want to do is highlight some of the boards that we have immediate openings on. Some of them will be seeing some reappointments or appointments tonight, and all of these that I'm talking about tonight, we desperately need volunteers to serve on. So the first, after a rather long hiatus, is our Arts and Cultural Commission. The concept of the FACC is to create and promote public art and cultural activities. Like I said, this has not been very active in the last many years. Councilmember Martin has stepped forward and offered to revitalize this. And even though he is recommending some appointments tonight, we still have up to 10 vacancies on this board. If you're interested in serving on this board, what it needs is some expertise and training in advertising, marketing and PR, art, culture, obviously, education, event planning, music. This is not an inclusive list or an exclusive list, but just some of the skills and talents you might have that would be very helpful as we move forward with this board. Next, Beautification Commission. If you were with us in December, you know that we lost our long-standing chairperson, Peggy Snow. She was with the board or with the commission for 18 years. And they have really, in the last year, stepped up, gotten some new members, gotten more active. You see their new logo that I took from their brand new Facebook page. Mm-hmm. So they are really kind of moving and shaking right now. And their concept or their statement of mission is to enrich and preserve the beauty of Ferndale by many different methods. They have 2 vacancies at least right now. They meet monthly at the library, I believe. And if you have some skills or talents or some expertise in advertising, forestry, horticulture, event planning, landscape architecture, gardening, obviously, real estate, marketing and PR, property maintenance and management, again, not an inclusive list, but just many of the things, ways you can use your talents here in Ferndale. The Board of Review is not a very visible board, but it is a very, very important board in Ferndale, and we have a very urgent need for members right now. We definitely need people with solid experience and knowledge in the areas of banking and finance, or real estate development, real estate law, property appraisal, or property assessing. The problems we have with filling this board is it doesn't meet very often. It only meets for about a week to a week and a half in March, but it meets during business hours. Pretty much 9 to 5, breaks for dinner, and comes back in the evening. So it can't be someone who has a permanent full-time job. The purpose of this board is to review the tax assessment roll for the city and approve it. And following that, all of our residents, or all of our property owners, whether they be residential or commercial, have the opportunity to appeal the assessment of their property. And so this board meets, they hear appeals based on either hardship, people who meet some state statutory guidelines for hardship in paying their taxes, or people who dispute the value that the Oakland County Equalization Division has assigned to their property. They make decisions and can change the assessment on the rolls. We have actually 3 vacancies. The first meeting will be the beginning of March. So, like I said, very urgent need. Dan, you're giving me a look. Did I miss something important? Okay.
I'm agreeing.
Okay. This is a board that is very much dictated by law, so I just wanted to make sure that our attorney didn't catch me making a mistake. Okay, Board of Zoning Appeals. This is headed up by Derek Delacourt. You guys hear him speak just about every council meeting. The Board of Zoning Appeals hears and decides appeals from requirements of the zoning ordinance. So if someone wants to appeal our setback requirements, things of that nature, they can apply to the Board of Review, or I'm sorry, to the Board of Zoning Appeals, and this board will hear and make determinations based on the zoning ordinance and the state statutes. We have 3 vacancies right now, 1 for a regular seat and 2 alternate seats. And our alternates actually get pulled into service quite often when a regular person can't meet, and as people have to leave the board for various reasons. We've got a lot of professionals on the board, and they take opportunities in other cities and other states. The alternates move up very quickly, so this is a great opportunity if you want to get very involved, and if you have planning, real estate, construction experience, engineering experience, anything at all in the planning realm, we need you. The Parks and Recreation Advisory Board, this is very exciting because in 2013, the mayor instituted his Blue Ribbon Commission on Ferndale's Parks. Our Recreation Director, Jill Manchek, gave the presentation back in November of the findings of the Advisory Commission. And so the purpose of the Parks and Rec Advisory Board is being redefined in 2014 to address the recommendations from that commission, and also to secure funding to implement those things. The commission was very creative, in looking at alternate funding aside from city funds. So we have up to 6 vacancies on this board. Councilmember Polika has stepped forward and expressed interest in really helming this thing and getting it going and doing some good work this year. If you have a background in banking or finance, fitness, recreation, forestry, landscaping, again, we need you, and if you contact my office, I will get Greg in touch with you immediately. The Plan Commission, another one of our very important and very active boards, again overseen by Community and Economic Development Director Delacourt. This board advises council on changes to the zoning ordinance, so they are always looking at how to best guide the development of this city according to the master land use plan and what is in the best interests of the city according to past practice and future plans. There's currently 1 vacancy on the board. It meets monthly, and this is a board that really does meet every month. And it's a good, strong board. We need people with some solid background in any of these areas you see, construction, planning, facilities management, architecture, If you have any inkling of what that picture is, then you might be a candidate for the Planning Commission. The applications for boards and commissions are on the city's website. You can also get one by contacting my office, the city clerk's office. That, in a nutshell, is kind of an overview of our immediate needs. Does anyone have any questions?
Nope. Thank you so much. I did talk to you last week and asked you to put something together, but I didn't realize you were going to put something so formal together. So I really appreciate it, Sherilyn.
It was really helpful, and I hope the residents really think through these and other opportunities. But these are the most immediate needs that we have. But there's obviously lots of other ways to serve as well. And of course, we're always looking to diversify our board. So we particularly hope that women will look at the opportunities, and people of color and other diversities. We want to try to get boards that younger people, as Sherilyn just said, people that reflect the diversity of our community. So I really hope that you go. All of these are also on the website, so if you missed them on here, you can look it over a little bit more closely on the website, see who else is serving on those boards and committees. So Sherilyn, by the way, great job putting that together. Thank you so much. And so that leads us to, I think we're going to hand to Sherilyn for that presentation. So that leads us to some reappointments to some of the various boards. Sherilyn, do you want to introduce that item as well?
Sure, if you'd like me to, Mayor. We have 5 boards and commissions that have members whose terms expired at the end of 2013. We have contacted them all. They are all interested in continuing their service. The staff liaison for each of the boards has reviewed their service and does recommend that council consider approving the reappointments. On the Beautification Commission, it's Tim Judd and Suzanne Rowe. For the Board of Review, William Brown. For the Board of Zoning Appeals, Robert Porter. For the Brownfield Redevelopment Authority, Alex Bellock and David Tobar. And for the Plan Commission, the chairperson, Sarah Rodiger. And in addition, Councilmember Martin has, like I said in my presentation, volunteered to revive the Arts and Cultural Commission. And he is recommending that the following be appointed to that board, and that would be Mark Burton, Jeannie Davis, Francine Hashem, Sherry Cruzman Martin, and Joanne Wilcock.
And their applications are attached.
They are.
For council's consideration. So what would be council's pleasure on these appointments and reappointments to the boards and commissions?
I move to confirm the reappointments and appointments as presented.
Is there support?
I support.
Leonard. Moved by Polika, supported by Lennon. Now, is there discussion?
I'd like to say a few words about the Arts and Culture Commission, if I could. The organization has been active for a long time, and it's really, I think, created a hole in our community in a number of areas that the Commission over the years has applied themselves to in order to revitalize it. We do have 5 individuals that have stepped up to take on this challenge, and 3 of them are here, so I'm going to recognize them really quick. Mark Burton, Jeannie Davis, and Francine Hashem are all here, so thank you, guys, for doing that. And really, we've charged in, though, with a twofold mission for the next year. One, obviously, we want to have some fun with this, and there are events towards arts and culture that they'll be promoting over the course of the year, but also to take a year and take our honest look at what the role of this commission should be long-term in relation to partnerships with existing organizations, getting feedback from the artistic community, and what, since this commission was chartered back in 2000, what that role looks like in the future. And it's good to take a step back, breathe, and take a year to do that. So we'll be all working together with them to do that. So I'm incredibly grateful for the work they're going to do, so I appreciate it. I also want to explain my vote on this due to my relation to one of the appointees. I'll be abstaining. So I'd highly encourage you to pass it. But
All right. Well, Dan, first of all, thank you for your efforts in reviving this group, but second, to your point about spending a year to sort of refine the mission, I think that's really important. We've tried to do that with a lot of our different boards and commissions over the last few years. We really appreciate our volunteers, and we don't want to waste their time, and there have been instances in the past where groups didn't feel like they had the direction that they needed, and so I noticed, Sherilyn, that you talked about sort of the repurpose of the Parks and Rec Advisory Board, and on that I want to thank Greg for stepping up and helping to mentor and shepherd that group. But it's really important, and I know I, as someone on council, will ask you occasionally, you know, do you have objectives? Do you have measures? How do you know if your group is succeeding or not? Because we don't want to create these just because they feel good or to waste people's time. And so I think it's really important that each group has clearly defined missions, and so I appreciate that you've done that with the arts group as well. Thanks. And the last thing I would just say is thank you, everybody, for your willingness to serve. As always, it is truly what makes Ferndale special is the volunteers and the people in this community who give of themselves for our city. So thank you. Any other comments on this? Sherilyn?
Council members Polika?
Yes.
Piana?
Yes.
Lennon?
Yes.
And Mayor Coulter.
Yes, thank you. The item is adopted. Next regular agenda item is B, appointment of council members to various boards and commissions. At the beginning of each term, which is every 2 years, council reappoints itself to various committees that we're charged to serve on. And there is a list of them here in your packet, 15 in all, and I guess we'll just take them one at a time. Do we literally, Sherilyn, do we need to vote on each motion?
No. You can go through the list, discuss, decide who's wanting to serve, and then you can make one motion at the end.
Okay, thank you. So let's start with Mayor Pro Tem. Is there any discussion on that?
Well, I would like to nominate Dan Martin to serve as our Mayor Pro Tem.
Second?
Dan Martin. All right. Is there any discussion about that? We'll do discussion now, and then we'll just vote the whole thing at the end. But Dan, would you accept that position if offered?
I'd be very honored to serve. Thank you.
All right. Agenda Committee. The Agenda Committee is currently mayor by virtue of office and was formerly Councilman Galloway. I'd like to recommend Councilman Lennon for that position to serve on the Agenda Committee.
Support?
Councilman Lennon, is that okay for you?
That'll work.
Thank you. The next one is Board of Zoning Appeals. The Board of Zoning Appeals was also represented by Councilman Galloway last time, and so we need a new council representative for the Board of Zoning Appeals.
Do we recommend ourselves?
Yes, you may.
I would be interested in serving on the Board of Zoning Appeals.
All right. Is anyone else interested?
I served already for 4 years prior to being on council. So.
Been there, done that.
Been there, done that. All right. Thank you, Greg. For the Brownfield Redevelopment Authority, which was also Councilman Galloway during the last term.
Been there, done that.
I'll put my name in if there's no one else that would like to
Support?
take it.
Okay. Don't see anybody else. All right. Capital Improvement Plan Committee, that requires 2 members of council. Last time it was Martin and Piana.
I don't have any interest in serving in the future, so.
No?
I have an interest in serving.
Polika?
And I will continue to serve if.
All right. Polika and Piana. Mike, any interest in that?
No.
Yeah, he said, wow. This might be a very fun group.
There's a great process for it, so it's.
All right. The next board is the Employees Retirement System Board of Trustees. And that was Councilman Martin last time.
And I currently chair that group, and I'd be interested in
You chair
continuing to
that
do
group.
so.
Thank
All
you.
right. And thank you. I wholeheartedly agree with that. So it's an important but dry committee. The next one is the Ferndale Public School Superintendent Advisory Committee, and Councilman Galloway served on that last term.
I'd be interested if no one else is.
Is there anyone else
I'm interested in, but I think I'm going to be signing up for others that would.
It's up to you. It's either way, it's fine.
Well, there's some things, like the Arts and Cultural Commission, it's not on this list, and neither is the Ferndale Environmental Sustainable Committee, and I'm the de facto city council rep to that too, so I just don't want to take on too much.
Finance Committee. This requires 2 members of council. Last term it was Galloway and Lennon.
I would be interested in serving on that committee.
Councilman Lennon, you interested in continuing your service?
Sure.
All right. Highway Committee is 2 members, and last term it was Coulter and Lennon. We've made a pretty good team.
Yeah, I'll stay.
Try it again?
Yeah, why not?
All right. The Liquor License Review Committee was 1 member, and that last time was Councilman Galloway. So
I
that
would like to take that spot.
You would like to take that spot? Oh. Anyone else interested in that? All right. Ordinance Committee is 2 members. Last time it was Galloway and Lennon. Helpful to have a lawyer, but we don't have a lawyer on the council anymore. So what's council's interest in the Ordinance Committee?
Well, I'll stay.
I'd be interested in serving on that committee.
All right. Anyone else have an interest in it? Plan Commission has 1 representative from the council, and last term it was Melanie, you were the
And
representative?
I'm still interested in serving.
Still interested in serving on that? Does anyone else have an interest in that? Police and Fire Retirement System Board of Trustees. And this is one where the mayor is on by virtue of office and 1 other council person, and last time that was Councilman Martin.
And I'll stay on it.
All right. And I have to stay on. And I mean that literally.
Say that with enthusiasm.
I mean that literally. The Sidewalk Hardship Committee is 1 member. Last time it was me. Is there any interest in the Sidewalk Hardship Committee?
You want to come off of me, or?
Wouldn't kill me.
I'll take it.
You want- oh.
Go ahead, Dan.
Sure.
Dan?
Yeah, I'll take it.
All right. Now that Lloyd's here, that's actually become a much smoother and simpler committee to serve on. And finally, the Southeast Michigan Council of Governments, we have 1 member and an alternate that serves on SEMCOG. Last time the member was Councilwoman Piana, and Mike, you were the alternate. What's the interest of council this
I can
time?
stay where I'm at on that.
And I'm interested in remaining the city's sticky wicket to Hancock. I also serve on another committee through our city representation there. I'm also on the Transportation Improvement Planning Committee that approves long-term infrastructure projects, like highway expansion. So I'm representing our interest there.
All right. And just for the public's information, there are 4 boards and commissions that the mayor serves on by virtue of office, so we don't have to vote on those tonight, but that's the Agenda Committee, the Downtown Development Authority, the 8 Mile Boulevard Association, and the Woodward Avenue Action Association. But I guess I would like to point out for a minute, last time we did this, and I'd like to continue if possible, that I actually have a designated alternate on the Downtown Development Authority, and last time that was Councilman Martin. For those times when I'm not able to make that meeting, it's important that somebody is there and when I can't make it, and I'd like to ask Councilman Martin if he's interested in continuing to do that.
Yep.
And if so, if we could add that to the minutes, that he's my official alternate to the Downtown Development Authority. Thank you. Okay, so with that, let me read back what I think I heard, and then we can vote on all of this with one motion. So Mayor Pro Tem Dan Martin, Agenda Committee, Mike Lennon and myself, Board of Zoning Appeals, Greg Pollica, Brownfield Redevelopment Authority, Melanie Piana, Capital Improvement Plan Committee, Greg Pollica and Melanie Piana, Employees Retirement System Board of Trustees, Dan Martin, Ferndale Public School Superintendent Advisory Committee, Dan Martin, Finance Committee, Greg Pollica and Mike Lennon. Highway Committee, Dave Coulter and Mike Lennon. Liquor License Review Committee, Mike Lennon. Ordinance Committee, Mike Lennon and Greg Pollica. Plan Commission, Melanie Piana. Police and Fire Retirement Board of Trustees, Dan Martin. Sidewalk Hardship Committee, Dan Martin. And SEMCOG, Melanie Piana with Mike Lennon as an alternate. Did I get that right?
You did.
All right.
And Dan as an alternate.
And Dan
for
is an alternate
DDA.
for the BDA. Yes, thank you. Any discussion on the appointments of council members to boards and commissions?
I'd move that we confirm the appointment of council members to city boards and commissions as discussed for terms ending December 31st, 2015.
Support.
Moved by Martin, supported by Polika. Any last discussion? Sherlyn, could you call the roll, please?
Certainly. And I'm sorry, that was Martin and Polika?
Your last one you had started with me.
I'm sorry, that it was Martin and Polika making the motion.
Oh, it was moved by Martin, supported by Polika.
Thank
That's
you.
correct.
Sorry. And thank you, Greg. I appreciate that. Council members Piana?
Yes.
Lennon?
Yes.
Martin?
Yes.
Polika?
Yes.
Mayor Coulter?
Yes, thank you. Those appointments are adopted. Moving on to item C, consideration of notice of proposed amendment to council rules of procedure regarding meeting time. Maybe City Manager, do you want to just give us a little background on what we discussed and how we got input, et cetera?
Sure can. Came to our attention that there was some conversation regarding if our meeting time at 7:30 was the most conducive for resident feedback. And we, at the time when that proposition came up, we had posted on our website what people would prefer to see, whether it's, I think we had 6:30, 7, and 7:30. I believe, Joe, it was a three-way tie, was it not, or pretty close? 6:30 ended up being the most, being the highest votes for what time they'd like to see council meetings. So with that, though, it looks that there is some opportunity for council to readjust the time if they see fit. I believe here we have it for looking at making a motion for 7 p.m., if I'm not mistaken. So one of the things we tried to do, though, with that, just before you start having that conversation, was really try to get that resident input. So we put it on Facebook, we put it on our website, so you gather that data. And I know that council had also asked around as well. So we didn't want to make that decision without getting some kind of resident feedback. So it looks like if you were open to changing those meeting times, it sounds like there was some positive feedback as it relates to that.
And Mayor, just following up on that,
Yes.
should council decide that it wishes to change its meeting start time, it would not be changing it for the next meeting. It would be providing notice at this meeting, and then it would make that change at the next meeting for the following meeting. So it would consider the change as a permanent change to its rules of procedure at the January 27th meeting.
And the
It would be
first
providing
meeting in
notice
February
in that-
would be the actual
Correct,
first meeting with the change. Understood. Are there any questions of clarification of council?
So if we voted yes for this tonight, that means that we are going to change the time and that we would move forward at a later date to change the rules of procedure?
No, if you decided that you wanted to change it tonight, you would be making a motion to that effect. On the January 27th meeting, you would be making a change consistent with what you're providing tonight, but it would be a permanent change to the rule of procedure effective after the January 27th meeting, where you would vote on it to change the rule of procedure at that time.
And tonight, we have to decide what that time would be.
Correct.
Okay.
So what's council's interest in this?
Well, I do support an earlier start time, and I think the community supports it. According to what we saw in the survey, 2/3 of the people that responded agree with a change from the 7:30 start times.
So would that be a motion? Because we would need a motion to have discussion on the item.
Oh, I make a motion to
Yeah.
discuss changing the start time of the city council meetings.
We need an actual start time.
If you could read it like that. We'll train you, Greg, that's okay. But if you read the motion as it's been drafted,
And it's, I say this.
Okay, I move to hereby provide notice that City Council will consider adoption of Amendment 6 to Council's Rule of Procedure at its January 27, 2014 meeting. Said amendment to read, 1, regular and special meetings, sub 1, regular meetings. All regular meetings of the City Council shall be held the second and fourth Monday of the month in the council chambers at 6:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time.
oh, did you say 6:30?
That's right. That's his proposal.
Oh,
That's
I'm
his
sorry,
motion.
I'm sorry. I misheard. Okay.
6:30 PM Eastern Standard Time. If the meeting day falls on a legal holiday, the council shall meet on the next regular business day.
Is there support?
Support.
Moved by Polika, supported by Lennon. Is there discussion?
I personally support 6:30. I know we talked about 6:30 or 7. I don't think 6:30 is prohibitive to get folks here to be able to participate or watch, and we do have very frequent replays of council for people to stay informed. So I know there is fluctuation between the two, but I personally like 6:30.
My personal preference is 7 because there's often meetings before city council that happen, closed-door sessions and other things. So I guess my personal preference would be 7, but I'm open to the thoughts of council on that.
I'm open to keeping the meeting time as is, and I appreciate all the feedback that the city collected based off of the data that was collected on other cities. We come in 50-50 in relative range when all the other cities have their time. I think 6:30, based off of my experience with special meetings with city council members, it's very difficult to get city council members here by 6:30, even for special meetings, at least on time, due to traffic and work-related items. It was also my understanding that with discussions that special meetings would happen before city council meetings rather than afterwards. So if we did have special council meetings, they would be scheduled around 5 o'clock, which would, for those who have to work to 5 o'clock, would be somewhat of a challenge to take off of work to get here on time for those special meetings if we followed the same format.
Other discussions and thoughts?
Is that my understanding of what would happen?
That would be up, that's not necessarily the case. Certainly, it would, a special meeting could be scheduled before or after, so it's not required to be before.
Through the chair,
Yes.
you don't always have to have a special meeting to have a closed session. It can just be at the end of, at the beginning or end of your agenda, of your regular agenda, so.
If it's the pleasure of council to move it to 7, I'll support either. My preference would be 6:30, but I understand the argument both ways. As long as I think we're progressively moving it forward, I'm fine with that.
I could go 6:30 or 7. I don't prefer 7:30.
I hadn't given a lot of thought to 6:30, but I know, because I know other communities do 7 o'clock without much of an issue, but we are part-time and our residents mostly work, so I do worry that the earlier it gets, the more difficult it can be for some people in the community and some people on council to be here, especially if there's something going on before the council meeting, so my preference would be 7.
If I may, Mr. Mayor, this is a procedural move, so we could always try it as a trial for 6:30 for a certain amount of time, and if it does not work or we find it prohibitive for public participation, we could move it back.
I don't disagree. I think that could cause confusion. I worry that it could possibly cause confusion. I mean, at the end of the day, this isn't a huge change anyway, but I'd rather do it once.
I think it benefits our staff, too. I think basically everybody's done, 4:35 April?
5:30.
5:30? And you're hanging around for 2 hours.
Mm-hmm.
Shall we vote? Have we done?
I
heard some pins drop.
The motion as made would provide for the matter to come up at your January 27th meeting for final adoption for a start date of 6:30 going forward. So that's the motion as made.
So I'd like to offer an amendment to the motion. Can I do that?
You can, if it's seconded.
I would
Well,
like,
I think I have to make the
Typically, the chair
amendment.
does not make motions.
oh, that's,
Can you
That's-
succeed the chairship?
Yeah, I mean, you could surrender the chair to the mayor pro tem.
Wow, the first 5 minutes.
Can I offer a scenario, question a scenario? If we choose to move forward with the 6:30 start time today, we still have to have discussion in 2 weeks. During that time, if the public seems to be against it, now that it's being made more public, can we at that meeting change that time to 7 p.m., or do we have
You
to?
would change it then for the first meeting. You would
could
change it at
notice-
the second meeting, at the first meeting in February.
Okay, so we'd start back
again.
here again
That's correct.
at the next meeting. Okay.
Right, so if it changes from whatever motion might be made and supported, and it changes at the next meeting, it would now provide the notice, and you would vote on the motion at the first meeting in February.
Okay.
all right. Well, since I can't make a motion, just to be clear, I don't support the motion as presented currently. Just so,
Well, but a motion has been made and seconded.
that's correct, that's correct.
You just have to call the question.
So, is there any other discussion? Madam Clerk?
Council members Lennon,
Yes.
Martin,
Yes.
Polika,
Yes.
Piana,
No.
Mayor Coulter.
No. All right, that item is adopted, and it will be noticed on the next council meeting. Thank you, Dan, for guiding us through that. Next item of business, consideration of resolution approving domestic partner benefits for all eligible full-time employees. And Jenny, are you going to introduce that item? Thank you.
Good evening, Mayor and Council.
Good evening.
Back in goal setting for this last year, for fiscal year 13-14, it was one of City Council's goals to research and implement domestic partner benefits as it relates to our employees' benefits system or program. We have done so. In July, Council approved implementing those domestic partner benefits for our non-union staff, and we have done that effective January 1st, made that available. What we have asked, what we're asking this evening is we go ahead and extend that to all other union full-time eligible employees, that benefit also be available to those folks as well. In addition to that, the policy that Blue Cross has in place for domestic partner benefits is the policy guidelines that we would follow as it relates to enrollment and procedure for the domestic partner benefits.
Excellent. Any questions or facts of Jenny? Before we have discussion.
Just a clarification, I'm not an underwriter by trade, but I was surprised to see that COBRA doesn't apply to domestic partners. They moved them into group conversion at termination. What's the logic behind that? Because the COBRA law is silent on domestic partnership.
That, I'm not 100% certain.
Okay, but we took that from the Blue Cross guidelines?
That is exactly what Blue Cross
Okay.
uses, yeah.
Thank you.
All right, is there a motion?
I'd move that we provide domestic partner insurance benefits to all eligible full-time employees, both union and non-union.
Is there support?
Support.
Moved by Martin, supported by Polika. Any discussion or comments on this? I'm happy to provide these. We did it for our union employees. It's nice to be able to extend them to all of our employees, and I think it's a good thing for the city of Ferndale. Appreciate you bringing it forward for us tonight. Sherilyn, would you call the roll, please?
Council members Martin,
Yes.
Polika,
Yes.
Piana,
Yes.
Mayor Coulter.
Yes, thank you. That item is adopted. And finally, regular agenda item E is the consideration of ordinance number 1150, amending Chapter 7, Business Regulation and Licenses Generally, Article X1X, Body Decorating Salons, Section 7, 396. And
Your
Dan,
Honor,
are you going to introduce this
I
item?
would, Your Honor.
Yeah, thank you.
This matter came to my attention through the clerk's office, which certain applicants for this particular license had expressed concern relative to the application processes no longer being consistent with the state public health code. This proposed ordinance amendment brings the city ordinance consistent with the amendments that were made to the Michigan Public Health Code. It addresses issues with respect to some of the requirements an applicant has to provide in order to have the license issued.
Very good. What's the pleasure of council this evening? A motion would be in order.
I move to approve ordinance number 1150, amending Chapter 7, Business Regulation and License Generally Body Decorating and Salons.
Support.
Moved by Piana and supported by Martin. Any discussion?
Just a question, if I may, Mr. Mayor. This is a loosening of our regulatory requirements,
It
not
is.
the tightening?
Loosening to make it more consistent with the amendments that
Match
were
of the
made to the
amendments.
Michigan Public Health Code.
Okay, thank you.
It's not as invasive.
Sherlyn, would you call the roll, please?
Councilmembers Polika?
Yes.
Piana?
Yes.
Martin?
Yes.
And Mayor Coulter?
Yes, thank you. That item is adopted, and that concludes our regular agenda this evening. Next item of business is call to council. Police chief, anything for the good of this evening, of the city this evening?
I have nothing additional, Your Honor. I would just like to, as we've already congratulated yourself and Councilwoman Piana, I would like to welcome Greg to the table and hope that we will work well together, I'm sure. Thanks.
Thank you. Thank you.
And I don't mean that in a suck-up way.
Yes, you do.
Fire Chief Sullivan, anything for the good of this evening, of the city this evening?
Mr. On, Mayor, Coulter, and Council, I too congratulate you all and welcome you aboard. We definitely will work well together. We already have. We had a house fire over the weekend. It was a pretty well-known family in the city of Ferndale. But a thought came up when we were there is that they had no fire extinguisher in the kitchen, and it was a kitchen fire which destroyed most of the home. I would advise and recommend to people, if you do not have at least one extinguisher in the home, you should have a couple. Typically, extinguishers help you get out in a fire. Fires are moving faster. They get hot quickly. 30 seconds go from 250 degrees to 1,200 degrees. It may prevent you from getting out of the house. So having one near the bedroom where you could use that to exit the home, but definitely having one in the kitchen. And always call 911 first and get help rolling, and then try and battle the fire if you should choose, and always have an exit to your back so that you can get out equally if it gets too big. They double in size about every 11 to 15 seconds. So in a very short period of time, you have high temperatures that the body cannot handle, cannot breathe, and severe chemicals that are developing that are very, very dangerous to you. So again, I would recommend that everybody look at those safety equipment in their home. We tend to think it will never happen to us. And that is the feeling I got conveyed to me, that it's hard to believe, but it does happen to everybody. So that's it.
Wise words. Thank you, Chief. Appreciate it. Jenny, anything else from the HR perspective this evening? All right. Lloyd, DPW. Nothing this evening. Joe, anything from your area this evening? Nothing. Wow, okay. Don't see anyone else out there. Sherilyn, anything from the clerk's office?
Well, it's a new year, so it is time to get your dogs licensed again. Oakland County Animal Control will be doing the dog census again, making sure that our dogs are duly licensed. So come into City Hall or contact Oakland County, get your dog's license now before the price goes up in April.
Excellent. Thank you. April, anything from the city manager's office?
Just a few things. It's important to note that 2014, we are very excited about as staff. We have a lot of good things coming forward for the city of Ferndale. And with that, over the course of the next few months, we encourage our residents to look on our website and listen for some dates for some goal-setting opportunities, as well as our budget hearings that are going to be happening this spring, this winter and this spring. So I'll be working with City Council to establish some goal-setting dates and to also get established the budget workshops and hearings so that people are able to come and attend those, and we would love their input. So more to come on all of that. And again, also we will be working through an annual report for last year's goals as well as a 6-month review of where we are for the current goals as well. So we'll be very excited to get in conversation with City Council and also produce where we are with our current goals. That's all I have today.
Excellent. Dan, anything else from
Nothing
the?
further, Your Honor.
Very good. Mayor Pro Tem Martin, anything?
Sure, a couple things. I just want to start out by, again, congratulating Mayor Coulter, Councilman Polika, and Councilwoman Piana, and your election. I can't wait to work with you guys this year. I think it's going to be a great year. I particularly want to thank Councilwoman Piana for her role as Mayor Pro Tem over the last 2 years. I think you've represented the city really admirably, and I really do appreciate your work there. Coming up is once again the Bud Light Music and Blues Festival. Hang on, I gotta get to my email. There it goes. Okay, with the poster this year, it runs from January 24th to February 1st. There are numerous venues through that time, including the capstone with the rib tent at Dino's, or right behind Dino's every year. This raises money for Michigan AIDS Coalition and Ferndale Youth Assistance, both two Ferndale charities. If you're interested in volunteering, there's a volunteer meeting this Thursday, the 16th at 6:30 at the Michigan Aid Coalition office at 429 Livernois in Ferndale. You can sign up for the bands and the gigs you prefer to volunteer at, as well as if you'd like to volunteer for the rib tent, which is on Saturday, February 1st. It runs from noon to 6. There are 2-hour shifts. You can contact Melinda Hicks at mhicks@ferndaleschools.org. This is always a great time. Please come on out and support these charities, and the bands and music is just fantastic. There's also a website, www.ferndalebluesfestival.org, to get the whole lowdown on that. In addition, FernCare Free Clinic has a bowl-a-thon coming up on Saturday, February 8th. They're looking to form teams at Luxury Lanes. So that's another great local charity, and you can go to www.ferncare.org to sign up there to bowl and raise money for FernCare. And lastly, I know it's been all over Facebook and the press and everything, but I think it bears repeating, cannot thank the folks at the DPW enough for the work they did in the snow and ice storms. You guys did a fantastic job, and I think clearly this community was ahead of everybody else. That's it.
All right, Councilman Lennon.
I too want to congratulate Lloyd. I wasn't able to make it last Thursday because of work, but I would have been there if I could. But the men and women were fantastic. You guys did a good job. I want to congratulate Dave, Melanie, and Greg. Greg, welcome aboard.
Thank you.
Okay. I'll keep it humorous for the next 2 years for you. I promise you that.
I appreciate that.
And I just want to thank everybody serving on the boards and commissions out there. It is greatly appreciated. You just don't realize how much it means and helps us, too. So, thank you. That's all I got.
Good. Councilman Polika.
Yep. I just want to thank everybody who helped get me to this seat. I really appreciate all your support. I also want to thank our city manager, April, and the police chief and fire chief and all the department heads over the last couple of months. They've met with me so that they could tell me what's going on, get me up to speed so that I'm not sitting here clueless. So thank you so much to all of you. I want to thank the fire department and the police department for all of their work during those cold spells and all the snow, because we can be huddled in our homes, but they have to be out there doing their jobs, and whether they like it or not. So I want to thank them and the DPW workers for getting our streets cleaned. So thank you.
Excellent. Councilwoman Piana.
Just want to say congratulations to Dave and Greg. I look forward to a great 2 years for the term of your mayor working together. I just want to let people know that I do the annual bowl, FernCare Bowl, every year. And it's certainly not because I know how to bowl. So it's coming out and raising funds for a good cause. And after FernCare had pipes burst this past week, and so they had flooding, so raising funds for them is especially important this time around. So come help raise funds for them by bowling. And that's it.
Excellent. And I would just say I look very much forward to the next 2-year term. I think we got a great team here together. I welcome Greg, and welcome back, Melanie, and Dan, and Mike. Look very much forward to working with you for the next 2 years. And just to add on, we had an incredible weather experience these last couple of weeks. 2 weeks ago, I didn't know what a polar vortex was, and now we've all survived one and lived through one, and probably nobody lived through it more immediately than our DPW folks. And we heard from you, our residents, in many different ways, emails and phone calls and just on the street, asking us to express to them what a great job they did. And in fact, that's exactly what we did. Councilman Lennon referred to last Thursday, where council all got together and went over and personally congratulated them on your behalf as residents. So I just want you to know, we let them know that we heard you, they're appreciated, and thanks everybody in DPW for all the great work that you did in the city. Thank you. And with that, meeting is adjourned.